Frost has woven a delicate, fern-like pattern across the oval window, obscuring the dark tarmac outside in a web of white ice. It is the first true greeting from the north, a silent signal that the air on the other side of the glass is of a different caliber than the air I left behind. The massive engines, which have been a constant, thrumming companion for hours, finally wind down. Their roar decrescendos into a whine, then a hum, and finally settles into a heavy, resonant silence. That silence feels physical, filling the cabin like water. The seatbelt sign extinguishes with a soft, singular chime that ripples through the quiet. Around me, there is the rustle of fabric, the soft click of latches, and the collective exhale of 200 people realizing they have arrived. But I remain seated for a moment longer, pressing my fingertips against the cold plastic of the window shade, letting that chill seep into my skin, grounding me. The aisle clears slowly. When I finally stand, the blood rushes back into my legs, bringing a prickling warmth to my heels and calves. I reach up, my hand closing around the leather handle of my bag. It feels heavier than before, weighted down not by new contents, but by the sheer gravity of travel. I lift it, feeling the strap pull taut, and swing it over my shoulder. The weight settles there, a familiar pressure that signals movement. Stepping from the cabin to the jetway is like crossing a climate threshold. The air in the corrugated metal tunnel is crisp, carrying a faint, metallic scent of aviation fuel and cold night air. The floor here is ribbed rubber, and my boots make a dull, hollow thud with each step. It is a transitional sound, neither indoors nor out, a rhythmic prelude to the solid ground waiting ahead. The tunnel slopes upward, a gentle incline that demands a slight lean forward, engaging the muscles in my thighs. I emerge into the terminal. The light here is different. It is not the harsh, fluorescent glare of busy hubs, but a softer, diffused luminescence that seems to respect the long winter night outside. The floor beneath my feet is polished stone, cool and unyielding. My boots strike it with a sharp, defined cadence. Heel toe, heel toe. The sound echoes faintly, bouncing off the glass walls that line the corridor. This walk is long. It is a slow, steady procession through the spine of the airport. I let my gaze drift to the floor, watching the reflection of the overhead lights slide over the polished tiles like oil. The pattern of the stone is speckled, gray on gray, mimicking the volcanic earth that waits beyond these walls. I focus entirely on the rhythm of my own movement. The strap of my bag digs slightly into my right shoulder, a grounding sensation that keeps me present. I shift the weight, hitching the bag higher, and the fabric of my coat rustles against the leather. Ahead, the floor texture changes. The hard stone gives way to a low-pile carpet, a deep charcoal color that seems to absorb the sound of the terminal. The sharp clip of my boots vanishes, replaced by a muffled, shuffling hush. It is quieter here. The silence of the north seems to have infiltrated the building itself. I walk past rows of empty seats, their curved metal backs gleaming softly. They look like sculptures of rest, waiting for travelers who are not yet here. I approach a moving walkway. It stretches out, a flat black ribbon gliding effortlessly between silver handrails. I step onto it. There is a slight lurch, a momentary shift in equilibrium, and then the floor takes over the work of moving me. I stand still, planting my feet shoulder-width apart. The rubber handrail moves under my palm, warm and slightly textured. For a long time, I simply drift. The corridor walls float past. I see advertisements for lagoons and glaciers, but I do not read the words. I only look at the colors: deep blues, stark whites, the green of moss. The hum of the walkway is a low, constant vibration that travels up through the soles of my boots. It is a mechanical lullaby. I close my eyes for a count of 10, feeling the forward momentum without the effort of walking. 1, 2, 3. The air moving past my face is cool. 4, 5, 6. The sound of distant voices is nothing more than a murmur, like a stream flowing under ice. 7, 8, 9, 10. I open my eyes as the end of the walkway approaches. I time my step, lifting my foot as the black slats disappear beneath the metal comb of the landing plate. My boot meets the stationary floor, and I am walking under my own power again. This section of the terminal is tiled in large, slate-colored squares. The grout lines create a grid that passes beneath me, rhythmic and hypnotic. Cross one line, step, cross another, step. The path curves, leading me down a wide staircase. My hand glides along the cool steel railing. Downstairs, the space opens up. The ceiling is higher here, and the air feels vast. I move toward the baggage claim, though I have nothing to collect. I simply enjoy the transit through the space. The carousels are giant loops of stainless steel and black rubber. One of them is active, the belt sliding around with a repetitive, rhythmic clatter. Suitcases tumble down a small slide, landing with heavy thuds before beginning their slow, circular journey. I watch a red suitcase drift by, then a black one, then a blue one. They pass like ships in a harbor, moving at a pace that refuses to be rushed. I continue toward the exit. The automatic doors are made of thick glass. As I approach, a sensor detects my presence, and the panels slide open with a rush of air. The wind hits me instantly. It is not aggressive, but it is assertive. It is a living thing, smelling of salt, sulfur, and ancient ice. It wraps around my coat, seeking any opening, pressing against the denim of my jeans. I step out onto the curb. The ground here is paved with rough cobblestones, slick with a thin layer of moisture. The sound of my boots changes again, becoming a gritty crunch. A bus waits at the far end of the curb. Its engine is idling, a deep, guttural rumble that vibrates in the chest. I walk toward it. The air is so cold, it feels like it is tightening the skin on my face, waking up every nerve ending. Vapor rises from my mouth in rhythmic clouds, disappearing into the dark sky. I stow my bag in the compartment underneath the bus. The latch clicks shut with a solid metallic finality. Climbing the steps into the cabin, I am greeted by a wall of warmth. The heater is running full blast, creating a cocoon of dry, hot air. I find a seat near the back, by the window. The upholstery is a rough, durable fabric, patterned in muted zigzags of blue and gray. I slide into the seat, the cushion compressing under my weight. The bus pulls away. We leave the bright halo of the airport lights and plunge into the darkness of the Reykjavík Peninsula. For the next 45 minutes, the world is reduced to shadow and motion. I lean my head against the window glass. It is cold, contrasting sharply with the warm air of the bus. Outside, there are no trees. There are no houses. There is only the lava field. Even in the darkness, I can sense the texture of it, vast, undulating waves of black rock covered in thick, gray moss. The headlights of the bus cut a cone of visibility into the night, revealing the rough, porous surface of the stones. Snow has drifted into the crevices of the lava, creating a stark, high-contrast pattern of black and white that stretches out to the horizon. The hum of the tires on the asphalt is steady and monotonous. It is a white noise that drowns out thought. Occasionally, a gust of wind catches the broad side of the bus, and the vehicle sways gently, like a boat in a swell. The suspension absorbs the bumps of the road, transforming them into a soft, rocking motion. I stare into the dark. My eyes lose focus, no longer looking for shapes, but simply resting on the void beyond the glass. Every few miles, a streetlight flashes past, a brief amber star that streaks across my vision and then is gone. The rhythm of the drive becomes the rhythm of my breath. Inhale as the bus climbs a rise. Exhale as it descends. The landscape is ancient, frozen in the moment of its creation. And moving through, it feels like traveling through time itself. There is no urgency here. The rock has waited thousands of years. It does not mind if we take an hour to cross it. The lights of the capital begin to appear in the distance. They are not a singular, blinding mass, but a scattered constellation of gold and white, shimmering through the cold haze. We pass low, industrial buildings, their corrugated metal sides glowing under security lights. We pass roundabouts where sculptures stand silhouetted against the sky. The bus slows, the engine note dropping an octave, becoming a deep growl as we navigate the narrower streets. We come to a halt at a small terminal on the edge of the city center. I descend the steps, my legs stiff from the ride. The city air is different from the airport air. It still holds the bite of the wind, but it is layered with the sense of civilization, coffee, diesel, and the pervasive, earthy smell of geothermal steam. The walk to the guest house is short. The streets are narrow and lined with houses clad in corrugated iron. They are painted in cheerful, defiant colors, deep reds, forest greens, slate blues, though in the sodium glow of the street lamps, they all take on a warm, amber cast. The sidewalks are heated here. It is a small miracle of this city. Beneath the paving stones, pipes carrying hot water keep the ground free of ice. I walk on dry, warm stone while snow piles up on the edges of the street, inches away. I turn a corner and the wind drops away, blocked by a row of tall hedges. The silence of the neighborhood is profound. There are no sirens, no shouting voices, only the distant, muffled sound of a car passing on a wet road. I reach the gate. It is a simple wooden latch. I lift it, the wood rough against my ungloved hand, and push. It swings open without a sound. The path to the door is lined with small, dormant bushes, their branches dusted with white. I climb 3 wooden steps to the front door. The key is heavy in my pocket. I retrieve it, the brass cold and solid. It slides into the lock with a smooth, oiled precision. I turn it. The mechanism tumbles, a series of small, satisfying clicks that resonate through the wood. I push the door open and step inside. The warmth of the house wraps around me instantly. It is a dry radiator heat, smelling of timber and clean linen. I close the door behind me, shutting out the wind, the cold, and the night. The silence inside is absolute. I lock the door, turning the thumb turn until it stops. I toe off my boots. They stand by the door, damp and travel-worn. My socks cushion my steps on the hardwood floor as I walk down the hallway. The floorboards creak softly, a welcoming domestic sound. The light in the hall is dim, casting long shadows that stretch out ahead of me. The room is at the end of the hall. It is small, efficient, and perfectly still. A large window looks out over a garden, but the curtains are drawn, shutting out the world. A single lamp on the bedside table casts a pool of warm, yellow light onto the duvet. I place my bag on the luggage rack. I do not unpack. That is a task for the morning, for a version of me that is rested and alert. Tonight, there is only the need to shed the layers of travel. I unbutton my coat, the heavy wool falling away from my shoulders. I hang it on a hook on the back of the door. I remove my sweater, pulling it over my head, the static crackling softly. The bathroom is tiled in white. I turn the faucet handle. The water rushes out, steaming almost instantly. The smell of sulfur rises with the steam, the scent of the earth's heat. I wash my face, the water hot and slippery against my skin. It feels medicinal, restorative. I dry my face with a towel that is thick and rough, scrubbing away the fatigue of the airports and the recycled air. Back in the bedroom, the bed waits. It is covered in a white duvet that looks like a snowdrift, thick and lofty. I pull back the covers. The sheets beneath are crisp, cool cotton. I sit on the edge of the mattress. It is firm, supporting my weight. I swing my legs up and slide between the layers. The duvet settles over me, a heavy, comforting weight. I feel the coolness of the sheets against my legs, a stark contrast to the warmth of the room. I stretch out, my feet finding the cool corners of the bed. I reach out and click the lamp off. Darkness fills the room, but it is not absolute. A faint, gray light filters through the fabric of the curtains, just enough to outline the shape of the window. The silence is heavy, pressing gently against my ears. I listen for the wind outside, but the house is solid, holding the elements at bay. My breathing slows. I focus on the sensation of the pillow beneath my head. It is soft, allowing my head to sink in, cradling my neck. The tension in my shoulders begins to dissolve, melting into the mattress. My thoughts drift back to the journey. I see the pattern of the frost on the plain window. I feel the vibration of the moving walkway in the soles of my feet. I hear the crunch of the snow on the lava field. These images are not sharp. They are soft, blurred at the edges, fading like old photographs. The heat of the room and the weight of the duvet create a perfect equilibrium. I am safe. I am here. The miles have been crossed. The ocean is behind me. The volcanic earth is beneath me, holding me up. I let my eyes close. The darkness behind my eyelids is vast and calm. There is nothing left to do. No schedules to keep. No gates to find. No bags to carry. There is only this stillness. The rhythm of the day, the roar of engines, the rush of wind, the hum of tires slows down until it matches the beating of my heart. I sink deeper into the mattress, feeling gravity gently pulling me down, anchoring me to this island in the north. A car passes in the distance, a long, fading hush that sounds like the ocean. I let the sound carry me. I am drifting on a calm sea, floating between the waking world and the sleeping one. The air in the room is still. The sheets are warming now, taking on the heat of my body. A final, contented sigh escapes my lips, and the night settles over me like a soft, heavy blanket. A pane of glass separates the warmth of the room from a blue, so deep it looks solid. It is not quite morning, and it is not quite night. This is the twilight of of the north, a heavy indigo blanket that covers the city of Reykjavik. Inside, the radiator hums a low, steady note, a vibration that travels through the floorboards and into the soles of my feet. I pull on a thick wool sock. The material is coarse against my skin, scratching pleasantly, promising heat. Then the second sock. Trousers lined with fleece follow, then a shirt, a sweater, and a heavy coat. The ritual of layering is the first act of the day. It is a preparation for the air outside, which waits with the patience of a glacier. The door to the street opens with a heavy wooden thud. Instantly, the air claims me. It does not bite, it presses. It is a clean, sharp weight that smells of salt and distant sulfur. The street is empty. A dusting of snow covers the cobblestones, softening the edges of the world. It muffles the sound of the city, turning the capital into a library of hushed tones. I am in the oldest part of the city. The neighborhood of Georgiothorpe sits quietly on a gentle hill. To my left, a house clad in corrugated iron stands against the gray sky. The metal is painted a deep forest green. Rust blooms near the gutters, orange and jagged, a testament to years of fighting the sea wind. Movement is slow here. The ground is uneven, the old stones shifting slightly under the ice. My boots find purchase on a patch of gravel scattered to prevent slipping. The sound is distinct. Crunch, grind, silence. A narrow lane winds downward. The houses here are small, huddled together as if for warmth. They are painted in shades of oxide red, mustard yellow, and slate blue. There are no straight lines. The fences lean. The roofs sag with the memory of heavy winters. It feels less like a city and more like a village that grew up by accident. At the corner of the street, where the pavement widens, I stop. There is a stone here. It is large, dark, and seemingly out of place. It sits half buried in the sidewalk, disrupting the clean line of the curb. The asphalt curves around it, respecting its space. This is the elf stone. I do not look for a sign or a plaque. The stone simply is. It has the texture of solidified lava, porous and sharp. Lichen clings to the northern face, pale green and brittle. I crouch down. The knees of my trousers pull tight. Removing a glove, I extend a hand. The air bites at my exposed fingers. My palm meets the rock. It is colder than the air. It feels dense, anchoring the street to the earth beneath. The surface is rough, like coarse sandpaper. I trace a ridge along the top. In the folklore of this place, these stones are homes, hidden cathedrals for the hidden people. Disturbing them brings bad luck. So the road builders went around. The city bent its steel and concrete to accommodate a rock. I rest my hand there for a moment longer. The cold seeps into my fingertips, numbing the skin. It is a connection to something older than the iron houses, older than the settlement. It is a handshake with the geology of the island. Standing up, I pull the glove back on. The wool lining feels incredibly warm now. Gravity takes over, guiding me down the slope of the neighborhood. The architecture begins to shift. The small, colorful houses give way to larger structures. Concrete replaces corrugated iron. The streets become wider, though the traffic is still sparse. A single car passes, its tires hissing on the wet pavement, the sound fading quickly into the damp air. Ahead lies the city hall. It is not a building that rises up. It is a building that settles down. It sits on the edge of the water, anchored by pillars that disappear into the dark surface of the pond. The walls are gray, echoing the sky, echoing the mountains that are currently invisible behind the cloud cover. I approach the entrance, but do not go in. My destination is the wall outside. A vertical garden rises from the walkway. It is a tapestry of living things woven into the lava rock facade. Even in the depths of winter, it holds a muted vitality. Moss, thick and spongy, clings to the crevices. It is not the bright green of summer, but a deep, slumbering olive. I step close to the wall. The smell here is intense. It smells of wet earth, of damp basements, of a forest floor after rain. It is a startling scent to find in the center of a paved city. I reach out again. This time, I keep the glove on. The moss gives under pressure, bouncing back slowly when I pull my hand away. It is saturated with water. A single drop releases from a fern frond and lands on my sleeve. It stays there, a perfect sphere of crystal, refusing to soak in. The texture of the wall is a landscape in itself. Rough lava rock, soft velvet moss, brittle stems of dormant plants. I follow the line of the wall as it curves toward the water. The sound of water lapping against concrete becomes audible. It is a rhythmic, gentle slapping sound. I turn my back to the wall. Before me lies the pond, Tiernan. It is the heart of the city, a body of water that mirrors the mood of the sky. Today, the water is the color of polished steel. Parts of it are frozen, sheets of white ice spreading out from the edges, while the center remains open and dark. A path encircles the water. I step onto it. This is the beginning of the long walk. There is no destination now, only the act of moving. The path is flat. The snow here has been packed down by many feet, creating a smooth, white ribbon that stretches ahead. I settle into a rhythm. The left foot strikes the ground. The heel absorbs the impact. The sole rolls forward. The toe pushes off. Then the right, left, right. The sound is a steady, low-pitched crunch. It is the only sound I make. The air inside my lungs is exchanged for the cold air outside. In, out, a cloud of steam forms in front of my face with every exhalation. A brief, ghostly shape that dissolves almost instantly. To my right, the water is still. The ice at the edge is not smooth. It is jagged, broken into plates that have refrozen together. They look like puzzle pieces made of frosted glass. Snow has drifted into the cracks, creating white veins in the gray ice. I walk past a bench. It is covered in a thick duvet of snow, smooth and untouched. No one has sat there for days. The wood of the backrest is barely visible. It stands as a silent observer to the path. Farther out on the water, birds are drifting. Swans, they are large, their feathers a brilliant white against the dark liquid of the pond. They do not swim, they float. Their heads are tucked under their wings, resting. They look like icebergs, sculpted by wind, drifting aimlessly. I continue. The path curves gently to the left. A row of trees lines the walkway. They are bare, their branches reaching up like ink strokes against the canvas of the sky. The bark is dark and wet. There is no wind to move them. They stand in absolute stillness. My pace does not change. There is a hypnotic quality to walking in the cold. The body generates heat, a small furnace burning under the layers of wool, while the face remains cool. The contrast is grounding. It keeps the mind present. I pass a section where the reeds grow tall. They are brown and dry, whispering against each other with a sound like paper rubbing on paper. They stand in the frozen mud, a thicket of gold and tan amidst the gray. The rhythm of my steps measures the passage of time. 100 steps, 200. The city noise is non-existent here. There are no sirens, no shouting, no engines. Just the crunch of snow and the whisper of breath. The light is shifting imperceptibly. The indigo of the morning is fading into a lighter pearl gray. It is not sunny, but the heavy gloom is lifting. The clouds are thinning, allowing a diffuse, milky light to spread over the water. It illuminates the ice, making it glow softly from within. I watch my boots. They are dark leather, stained slightly by the salt. They move with a mechanical reliability. Step, step, step. The repetition clears the mind. Thoughts of schedules and obligations dissolve. There is only the sensation of movement. A duck paddles near the edge of the ice. It creates a V-shaped wake that ripples outward, disturbing the reflection of the sky. The ripples hit the ice shelf and vanish. The water returns to glass. I keep walking. The cold is starting to penetrate the denim of my trousers. A dull ache in the thighs that is not unpleasant. It is a reminder of the environment. It makes the warmth of the coat feel more luxurious. The path straightens out. Ahead, a bridge cuts across the narrowest part of the pond. It is my next marker, but I am in no hurry to reach it. I let the distance close slowly, step by step. I focus on the sound of the city breathing. It is a low, distant hum, almost below the threshold of hearing. It is the sound of heating systems, of distant tires, of the ocean crashing against the sea walls miles away. It blends with the wind, which is beginning to pick up, brushing past my ears with a soft sigh. The snow on the path changes texture. Here, under the shelter of a large evergreen, the ground is clearer. The sound of my steps changes from a crunch to a hard tap. Tap, tap, tap. Then, as I emerge from the shelter, back to the soft crunch, I look up at the sky. It is a vast, open dome. The clouds are moving now, drifting slowly from the west. They are heavy with more snow. A single flake lands on my eyelash. It melts instantly, a tiny point of cold water. I have reached the southern curve of the pond. The view opens up. Across the water, the colored roofs of the city rise in layers. The spire of the great church is visible in the distance, a pale gray rocket pointing at the heavens. It looks soft in this light, as if made of ash. I turn the corner, following the path as it loops back toward the center. The wind is at my back now. It pushes me gently, assisting my progress. The coat flaps slightly against my legs. The swans are still drifting. One of them lifts its head, a long, serpentine neck uncoiling. It looks at me with a black, bead-like eye, then tucks its bill back into its feathers. It is dismissive. It is entirely at peace. I breathe in deeply. The air tastes of winter. It tastes of clean, cold water. I hold the breath for a second, letting the chill fill my chest, then release it. The steam cloud is larger this time. The bridge is closer now. The wooden railings are weathered, turned silver by the elements. I step off the snow and onto the timber of the bridge. The sound changes instantly. The hollow, resonant thud of wood over water replaces the crunch of the path. The bridge is not long, but it feels significant. It is a transition point. I walk to the center and stop. Leaning against the railing, I look down. Beneath my feet, the water flows. The ice has not captured this section. The current is slow, dark, and oily. It swirls around the pilings of the bridge, creating tiny whirlpools that spin and vanish. The railing is smooth under my gloved hands. I can feel the grain of the wood through the wool. It is damp. From this vantage point, the city feels suspended. The city hall with its mossy wall is to the north. The park with its sleeping trees is to the south. I am in between. The wind carries a few more snowflakes. They spiral down, landing on the dark water, disappearing into the black. There is no accumulation on the surface. the water consumes them. I watch the ripples. They are mesmerizing. They expand and contract, influenced by the breeze and the current. They distort the reflection of the bridge, twisting the lines of the railing into wavering shapes. The cold is beginning to settle in earnest now. It is no longer just on the surface of the skin. It is pressing inward. It brings with it a desire for heat. My mind drifts to the thought of the geothermal pools. I imagine the steam rising from the blue water, the smell of sulfur, the contrast of hot water and freezing air. It is a promise that hangs in the distance. But not yet. For now, I am content to stand on the bridge. I watch the gray sky reflect in the gray water. I listen to the silence of the snow-covered city. I push away from the railing. The wood releases me. I turn toward the far bank, where the path continues into the heart of the city. One step, then another. The hollow sound of the bridge follows me until my boots find the snow again. The crunch returns. The light is fading slightly, or perhaps my eyes are just adjusting to the monochrome palette. The day is not ending, but it is settling. The energy of the morning has dissipated into a calm, steady afternoon. I walk toward the street lights that have just flickered on, faint orange stars in the daylight. They offer a different kind of warmth, a visual heat. The snow continues its slow descent, covering my tracks before I have even turned the corner. The morning light in Reykjavik does not break, it seeps. It is a slow, indigo fluid that fills the spaces between the colorful corrugated iron roofs, lifting the city gently from the quiet of the night. I watch this gradual arrival from the warmth of the indoors, a ceramic mug warming my palms. Outside, the air is waiting, crisp and heavy, with the scent of salt and ancient frost. Today requires a slow pace. There is no urgency in the movement of the clouds above the bay, and I intend to match their drift. I finish the coffee, leaving the warmth behind, and step out into the embrace of the Icelandic air. It greets me immediately, a bracing clarity that wakes the skin and sharpens the eyes. My path leads down toward the water. To the left, the harbor rests in a lull, the fishing trawlers bobbing with a sleepy, rhythmic creak against their moorings. Ahead lies the first destination, rising from the harbor edge like a geometric glacier. The Harpa Concert Hall stands as a massive sculpture of glass and steel, catching the mood of the sky and reflecting it back in 1,000 fractured panels. I approach the facade. It is not a flat wall, but a honeycomb structure, a three-dimensional lattice of hexagons that seem to breathe with the changing light. I pull the heavy glass door open. The wind, which had been tugging at my scarf, is instantly cut off. The silence inside is immediate and vast. The foyer is a cavern of light. The ceiling soars high above, a complex web of steel mirrors and glass blocks. I move toward the center of the atrium. The floor is dark stone, polished to a shine that mirrors the ceiling, creating the sensation of walking, suspended inside a kaleidoscope. I drift toward the south wall. Here, the glass bricks are colored in subtle gradients: amber, yellow, and translucent green. The sun, currently low and weak on the horizon, pushes its rays through this prismatic wall. This is the shadow pattern I came to find. On the dark stone floor, the light lays out a grid. It is a perfect, distorted map of the honeycomb wall. I stand at the edge of a pool of yellow light. It is not static. As the clouds outside shift, moving across the face of the sun, the shadows on the floor breathe. They deepen, then fade, then sharpen again. I trace the line of a shadow with the toe of my boot. The contrast is sharp, the absolute black of the shade against the glowing amber of the sunlit stone. I follow the pattern, walking the grid like a labyrinth. One hexagon leads to another. The light falling on my coat feels warm, a phantom heat that exists only in the visual spectrum, for the glass remains cool to the touch. There is a rhythm to the space. People move through the distant upper levels, their footsteps reduced to soft echoes that blend with the hum of the ventilation. It sounds like the interior of a massive instrument waiting to be played. I linger by the glass, pressing a hand against a clear pane. Beyond it, the ocean is a sheet of steel gray, ruffled by the wind I can no longer feel. Leaving the sanctuary of the glass hive, I step back into the wind. It feels fresher now, or perhaps I have just become acclimated. I turn my back to the sea and begin the ascent into the city. The streets here are not flat. They roll and rise, following the contours of the lava ridges beneath the asphalt. The walk is steady. I pass small houses painted in shades of sage, burnt orange, and slate blue. The incline steepens as I approach the top of the hill, heading toward the distinct silhouette of the great church, though I veer away before reaching its plaza. My destination is quieter, more enclosed. The Einar Johnson sculpture garden sits behind a high wall, a fortress of solitude in the middle of the residential district. I find the iron gate and slip inside. The drop in sound is profound. The wall acts as a damper, cutting out the tire noise of the nearby street. Here, the air feels still, held in place by the perimeter of stone and shrubbery. The ground is covered in crushed gravel, a gray river that crunches satisfyingly underfoot with every step. Bronze figures stand on pedestals, spaced with deliberate restraint throughout the garden. They are dark, oxidized by decades of Icelandic weather, turning a deep, rich verdigris in the creases of their metal robes. I move slowly from one to the next. They are heavy, somber figures depicting myths and dreams. their faces turned toward the sky or buried in their hands. I am looking for the ring. In a secluded corner, sheltered by a row of hardy shrubs that have lost their leaves to the winter, lies a circle of stones. It is peculiar, distinct from the gravel path. These are not jagged rocks, but rounded, smooth stones, worn down by water and time, arranged in a precise loop on the earth. I crouch near them. The stones are cold, absorbing the chill of the ground. They vary in color, basalt black, granite gray, and a few speckled with white quartz. They look like eggs of some ancient, earthbound creature, waiting. I reach out and brush the surface of the largest stone. It is rougher than it looks, pitted with tiny pores. There is a dampness to it, a memory of the rain that fell hours ago. Sitting back on my heels, I observe the geometry. The circle is a perfect container. Inside the ring, the earth is bare, dark soil exposed to the sky. It feels like a focal point, a place where the energy of the garden collects and settles. I stand up, my knees cracking softly in the quiet. I take a moment to look up. The walls of the garden frame the sky, cutting out the buildings, leaving only the gray expanse of clouds and the tops of the bronze statues. It is a world within a world. Leaving the garden, I turn left. The street stretches out, a long, sloping avenue that leads toward the western edge of the city. This is the valley of the day, a time for simple, rhythmic motion. The pavement here is broad and composed of square gray tiles. I align my stride with them. 1 tile, 2 tiles, 3. My boots make a dull, flat sound against the concrete. The rhythm becomes a metronome for my breathing. Inhale for 3 steps. Exhale for 3 steps. The wind is at my back now, a helpful hand pushing gently against my shoulders. It creates a tunnel of air around me, whistling softly past my ears, muffling the rest of the world. I do not look at the houses passing by in my peripheral vision. I focus entirely on the sensation of walking. The ground slopes downward. Gravity assists the motion. My legs swing with a pendulum efficiency. The weight of my coat feels comforting, a heavy layer of wool that separates the warmth of my body from the bite of the wind. I can feel the friction of the fabric against my neck, a soft scratchiness that is grounding. A car passes, the sound swelling and fading like a wave, the tires hissing on the damp asphalt. Then silence returns, filled only by the wind and my own footsteps. I cross an intersection. The lights change, a mechanical click, a flash of green. I keep moving. The surface changes from tile to poured concrete, slightly rougher. I can feel the difference through the soles of my boots. The vibration is distinct. Step, step, step. The air is cooling. The sun is hidden behind a thick bank of clouds, diffusing the light into a flat, shadowless silver. It is the color of high winter. I tuck my chin lower into my scarf. The wool smells of faint lavender and cold air. There is a meditative quality to this long stretch of road. No decisions need to be made. The path is clear. The boundaries are set by the curb and the walls of the gardens I pass. I am simply a moving object, traversing the space between 2 points. My hands are deep in my pockets, fingers curled loosely. I feel the smooth lining of the pocket, a silky contrast to the rough wool outside. I focus on the warmth trapped there. The road curves gently to the right. A row of trees lines the sidewalk here, their branches bare and black against the sky. They stand like calligraphy ink, dried on gray paper. I count them as I pass. 1, 2, 3, 4. They are evenly spaced, soldiers of the street waiting for spring. I listen to the sound of my breath. It is slow, steady. The cold air enters, sharp and clean. The warm air leaves. A small cloud of steam that dissipates instantly over my shoulder. The grade of the hill flattens out. The effort of walking changes slightly. My muscles adjust, engaging differently to propel me forward on the level ground. I feel the stretch in my calves, the solid impact of my heels. It is a good, heavy feeling. I pass a low stone wall. The texture is rough, lava rock cemented together. Moss grows in the crevices, bright green sponges drinking the moisture from the air. I run a gloved hand along the top of the wall as I walk, feeling the undulations, the bumps and dips of the stone beneath the leather. The rhythm continues. Step, breath, wind. Step, breath, wind. It is a trance of motion. The mind empties, leaving only the sensory input of the body moving through space. The world narrows down to the next 10 feet of pavement. Ahead, the texture of the environment begins to change. The open street gives way to a denser canopy. The iron fence appears on my left, tall and intricate, marking the boundary of the final destination. I slow my pace, letting the momentum of the long walk bleed away, until I am standing still before the gate of Hallavallagarður. This is not a cemetery in the traditional sense. It is a forest that happens to hold memory. It dates back to the 19th century, and time has been allowed to cultivate the space. I push the gate open. The hinges are well oiled, swinging silently. Inside, the light is dimmer. The trees here are old birch, rowan, and willow, planted so closely together that their branches interlock overhead, forming a vaulted ceiling of twigs and bark. I step onto the path. It is narrow, winding between the plots. The ground is soft. Layers of fallen leaves and needles have decomposed over decades, creating a springy, damp floor that absorbs the sound of footsteps completely. I walk in silence, The dominant feature here is moss. It is everywhere. It wraps around the trunks of the trees in thick, velvety sleeves. It carpets the ground. It has claimed the headstones, softening their edges, filling the carved letters of names long forgotten. Some of the iron fences surrounding individual family plots have been swallowed by it. The metal bars looking like green ribs rising from the earth. I stop in a small clearing where a large birch tree stands. Its bark is peeling in white, papery curls that flutter in the breeze. This is the sound I was seeking. The rustling forest. The wind moves through the canopy differently here than in the open city. It is filtered, broken apart by the millions of twigs and branches. It does not howl, it whispers. It sounds like the rush of a distant river, a constant, sibilant hush that rises and falls. I close my eyes to listen. The dry leaves that still cling to the lower branches rattle softly against each other, a sound like dry paper being crumpled. Above that, the pine needles sift the wind, creating a high, thin sigh. The air here smells of wet earth, decaying wood, and cold stone. It is an organic, rich scent. I open my eyes and look at a nearby headstone. It is a simple basalt column, tilted slightly by the heaving of the frost over 100 winters. A patch of lichen, bright orange and circular, grows near the top. I reach out and touch the moss covering the stone's shoulder. It is incredibly soft, dense and cold, holding water like a sponge. When I press my finger into it, water wells up around the nail, clear and ice cold. I navigate deeper into the grove. The paths are not grid-like. They meander, respecting the roots of the trees. I have to duck under a low-hanging branch. The wood brushes against my hat, a gentle snag. There is a profound sense of privacy here. The city surrounds this place, but the density of the trees acts as a shield. I am alone in a green room. I find a bench nestled between two large rowan trees. The wood of the bench is gray and weathered, but dry. I sit down. The wood is cold through my trousers, but the position is restful. I lean back, looking up through the intricate lattice of branches. The sky is darkening. The indigo of the morning is returning, deepening into the violet of early evening. The light in the cemetery changes, the shadows stretching out, merging with the moss until the ground becomes a single, dark expanse. The rustling continues, a lullaby of friction and air. It is a sound that has existed here for a century, witnessing the changing of seasons, the arrival of snow, the burst of spring, and the long twilight of winter. My breathing slows to match the swaying of the branches. The cold is no longer a sharp sensation, but a heavy blanket, settling over my shoulders, encouraging stillness. I watch a single dry leaf detach from a branch high above. It falls slowly, spiraling catching the air, rocking back and forth until it settles silently onto the bed of moss. The day has been a collection of textures: the slick glass of the concert hall, the rough bronze of the statues, the rhythmic pavement, and now the soft, damp velvet of the living earth. Each sensation has layered over the last, building a heavy, comfortable fatigue. I stay on the bench as the twilight deepens. The white bark of the birch trees seems to glow as the rest of the colors fade to gray. The wind dies down, leaving a sudden, profound stillness in the air. The rustling stops. There is no need to move yet. The path back is clear, but for now, the stillness is enough. I let my hands rest in my lap, feeling the weight of the day dissolve into the quiet dark. The gray light of morning does not break so much as it filters slowly through the heavy cloud cover. It is a soft and diffused illumination that casts no hard shadows. The city of Reykjavik is waking up around me, but the sounds are muffled by the damp air. Tires hiss on wet asphalt. A distant ship horn creates a low vibration that is felt in the chest more than heard by the ears. My destination is not the grand tourist center yet, but a place woven into the fabric of the neighborhood. Vesterbyjarlag is where the locals go. It is a place of daily ritual. The building is low and unassuming, nestled among residential streets where windows are already glowing with warm amber light against the gloom. Inside, the air is thick with humidity. The scent is specific and grounding. It smells of clean minerals, damp concrete, and the faint, sharp tang of sulfur that speaks of the earth's heat. There is a rhythm to the locker room that requires no instruction. Shoes are placed on racks. Keys turn in simple locks with a solid metallic click. Showers run with a steady, drumming cascade. Stepping outside is the first true sensory event of the day. The air is brisk, hovering just above freezing. It bites at the skin, instantaneous and waking. Steam rises from the outdoor pools in great, billowing columns that drift sideways in the breeze. The concrete deck is cold underfoot, urging a quickened pace toward the water. There are several pools here, each marked with a temperature, but I bypass the swimming lanes where caps bob in a steady rhythm. I move toward the spiral tubs. These are smaller, intimate circles of warmth designed for sitting, for soaking, for doing absolutely nothing. The water accepts me. It is not just warm, it is heavy with heat. It wraps around ankles, then knees, then waist, rising to the chest as I sink onto the submerged bench. The transition is profound. One moment, the body is braced against the chill of the Atlantic wind. The next, it is enveloped in 40 degrees of geothermal comfort. The spiral tub is shaped like a shell, curving inward. I find a spot near the jet where the water circulates with a gentle pressure. Here, the world narrows down to the immediate sensation of heat and the view of the steam rising to meet the gray sky. Time becomes difficult to track. There is a clock on the wall, visible through the mist, but the numbers seem irrelevant. People come and go. They nod silently. They sit with eyes closed, heads tilted back, letting the rain that has started to fall cool their faces while their bodies remain submerged. The rain is light, almost a mist itself. It feels like cold needles pricking the skin of my forehead, a sharp counterpoint to the enveloping heat. I watch the steam swirl. It dances over the surface of the water, thick and white, obscuring the far end of the pool. Sometimes a gust of wind clears it, revealing the bright blue of a swim cap or the dark silhouette of a lifeguard chair. Then the wind dies, and the white curtain falls again. Leaving the tub requires willpower. The air has not warmed, but my body has stored the heat of the earth. I wrap a towel tight and move back toward the shelter of the changing rooms. The skin tingles, alive and awakened. This was the preparation, the prelude. The journey to the next location takes me out of the neighborhood and toward the industrial edge of the peninsula. The bus ride is a smooth glide through streets that are gray on gray. Warehouses and harbors pass by. The ocean is always there, a presence on the right, dark and churning. We arrive at the edge of Karsnes Harbor. The landscape here is rugged. The architecture of Sky Lagoon seeks to mimic the land rather than conquer it. Walls of turf, thick with grass, rise up to hide the modern world. The entrance is not a door, but a cleft in the earth, a passage that leads away from the parking lot and the gravel and the noise of the city. I enter the changing area, which is dim and quiet. Dark wood and stone replace the bright tiles of the morning. Everything here is designed to slow the pulse. The lockers are hidden behind wood paneling. The lighting is low, focused on the textures of the floor and the benches. After the shower, I approach the lagoon entrance. It is not a ladder into a pool. It is a ramp that descends into the water while still inside the building. I step in. The water here is calm, sheltered, and perfectly warm. I wade forward, and the heavy plastic strips that separate the indoors from the outdoors part around my shoulders. I emerge into a canyon. This is the valley of the senses. The walls rise high on either side, crafted from layers of black basalt rocks and dark turf. They block the wind completely. They block the view of the harbor, the city, and the road. There is only the sky above, gray and moving, and the corridor of water ahead. I begin to move through this canyon. The floor of the lagoon is smooth, but natural underfoot, varying slightly in texture. The water is opaque, a deep, steamy blue that hides the body from the neck down. movement here is slow. The density of the water resists quick actions. To walk is to push against a gentle, yielding weight. My hands drift just below the surface, fingers spread, feeling the resistance. There is no sound here but the water itself. It laps against the basalt rocks with a hollow, rhythmic clapping sound. The steam is trapped in this canyon, thicker than it was at the town pool. It swirls in the eddies created by my movement. I take a step. The water ripples outward, the small waves traveling until they hit the dark rock and bounce back. I take another step. The warmth is consistent, a blanket that fits perfectly. The air in the canyon is cool and fresh. I breathe it in deep, filling my lungs with the damp, oxygen-rich atmosphere. The contrast between the hot water pressing against my chest and the cool air entering my nose is hypnotic. I stop moving. I just stand. The buoyancy of the salt water takes the weight off my spine. My feet rest lightly on the floor, bearing only a fraction of my true weight. I sway slightly, moved by the currents of the water filtration, moved by my own breath. Forward again. The canyon winds slightly. I cannot see the end, only the next curve of black rock and green turf. The moss on the rocks is vibrant, a shocking green against the wet stone. Droplets of condensation cling to the moss, shining like glass beads. I run a hand along the wall as I pass. The stone is cold, wet, and rough. It grounds me. Cold stone, hot water. Gray sky, green moss. The act of walking becomes the only reality. Lift the foot, push through the fluid, place the foot. Lift, push, place. The rhythm is slower than a heartbeat. It is the rhythm of tides. There are no decisions to make here. There is only the path forward. The walls guide me. The water carries me. I tilt my head back. The clouds are moving faster than I am. They slide across the opening of the canyon, gray shapes tumbling over one another. A single gull flies across the gap, silent and white, disappearing behind the turf wall in an instant. I continue to wade. The sensation of time slipping away is palpable. I am not arriving. I am simply being. The distance is measured not in meters, but in breaths. The steam thickens as the canyon narrows. I walk through a white cloud, unable to see the water my hands are touching. It feels like walking through the clouds themselves. Then the walls begin to widen. The echo of the water changes, becoming more open, less intimate. The canyon opens up, and the horizon reveals itself. I have reached the edge. The lagoon expands outward, a vast sheet of geothermal water that seems to spill directly into the North Atlantic. There is no visible barrier. The infinity edge creates an optical illusion where the warm blue of the lagoon meets the cold, steel gray of the ocean, and they become one continuous surface. I drift toward that edge. The ocean beyond is choppy. Whitecaps break on the dark waves. The wind is stronger here, unprotected by the canyon walls, but the heat of the water is a shield. I find a spot at the very brink, where the water cascades over the hidden wall into the trough below. I look out. To the left, the distant peninsula of the president's residence is a smudge of white buildings against the dark land. To the right, the open sea stretches toward the Arctic. It is time for the ritual. A small wooden house sits to the side, built into the turf bank. This is the domain of the 7 steps. I leave the lagoon, the air seizing my skin for only a moment before I enter the cold mist room. It is a simulated rain. Cold, fine mist falls from the ceiling. I stand in it, letting it wash away the heat, closing the pores. It is a shock, but a welcome one. It resets the nervous system. Next is the dry heat. The sauna here is a masterpiece of design. One entire wall is a single pane of glass facing the ocean. I sit on the highest bench. The heat is dry and intense. It smells of cedar and scorching stones. I watch the waves crash on the rocks below the lagoon. The glass is soundproof. The ocean is violent and loud, but in here, there is only silence and heat. I watch the white foam explode against the black rock in total silence. From the dry heat, I move to the mist again, then to the scrub. The salt scrub is coarse, mixed with oils. I apply it slowly, polishing the skin. The scent is peppermint and local herbs, sharp and clearing. It opens the lungs. Steam follows. The steam room is dark, so thick with vapor that I cannot see my own feet. The only light is a small fiber optic star field on the ceiling. I sit in the heavy, wet heat. The salt on my skin dissolves, stinging slightly, purifying. I rinse in the shower, the final step before returning to the lagoon. Walking back into the main water feels different now. The skin is sensitized. The muscles are jelly. I glide back toward the infinity edge. The light is changing. The afternoon is surrendering to the long blue twilight of the north. The gray sky deepens to a bruised purple. The water of the lagoon begins to glow from beneath. Soft lights illuminating the steam that rises from the surface. I find a corner of the infinity edge where a large rock breaks the surface. I lean back against it. The texture of the rock is slippery, with algae, natural and ancient. A light rain begins to fall again. This time, it is mixed with sleet. It hits the warm water and vanishes instantly. It hits my face, cold and sharp, melting on contact. The sensation is a perfect duality. The body is held in the womb of the earth's heat, while the face is exposed to the raw elements of the north. I watch a ship moving slowly on the horizon. It is a trawler, its lights twinkling like low stars. It moves so slowly that I have to line it up with a distant mountain to see that it is moving at all. The crowd in the lagoon has thinned. Voices are low murmurs, lost in the sound of the wind and the ocean. I am alone in my pocket of warmth. I extend my arms, floating them on the surface. The water supports them completely. I feel weightless, suspended between the rock below and the sky above. The tension of the journey, the weight of the suitcase, the schedule of flights, all of it has dissolved into this saline solution. The horizon line begins to blur. The sea and the sky are becoming the same shade of deep indigo. The only definition is the white foam of the waves and the white steam of the water. I close my eyes. I listen to the wind whistling over the turf wall. I listen to the deep, rhythmic surge of the Atlantic Ocean crashing against the man-made barrier of the lagoon. I listen to the sound of my own slow breathing. There is nothing left to do. The list of sub-goals is empty. The spiral tubs have been experienced. The canyon has been traversed. The ritual is complete. I let my legs drift downward, finding purchase on the smooth floor. I turn away from the ocean, looking back toward the soft, glowing lights of the turf house. The steam wraps around me, a private cloud, holding me in this moment of suspension. I take one final look at the darkening ocean, committing the gray and the blue and the white to memory. Then I sink a little lower until the water touches my chin, and I let the world drift away.